Hey guys, welcome to another tutorial on our YouTube channel, AJ Craft Supplies. Today I'm going to show you how to make these silicone beaded wristlets. So these are very trendy and popular right now, and they're really useful for attaching to your keys and your wallets, for example, so you don't lose them. We sell the ID wallets that you can attach to your wristlets as well, obviously without the personalization. It comes with a tassel. And we also have really gorgeous stainless steel charms like that you can add to your wristlet for that extra bling. So without further ado, I am going to start the tutorial. Do stay tuned to the end of this video where I share some hot tips as well. So before we begin, I would like to introduce you to our beading board tray. This is the bracelet form, but we also have it in a necklace form. So you basically put your beads where the crevices are, according to which measurement you'd like your end product to be. Now with wristlets, it gets a little bit tricky. Because of the way it is made and how you have to pull the string at the very end until it's very taut, you will naturally lose some length. So if you use a 7-inch crevice for your beads, you end up with a wristlet that measures 6.5 inch. So you always want to size up when you're using this board. If you use a 6.5 inch crevice, you'll end up with a 6-inch wristlet. For today's tutorial, I'm just going to be focusing on the 6.5 inch crevice. And to check the size of your end product, you can always pop it back onto the beading board tray. A beading board tray, a large eye crafting needle, a strong and durable cord like a 1.5mm satin nylon cord, a large lobster clasp, and your beads, of course, and a pair of scissors. Knot grippers are optional but are very highly recommended for tight knots. So I'm going to start by planning out my wristlet design. And as I mentioned earlier, I'm going to use the 6.5 inch crevice to make a 6-inch wristlet. So I've planned the design out and I'm going to move on to the next steps. I am going to grab my satin nylon cord and cut it to a 60cm length. So once I've done that, the next step is to string all my beads onto the cord. I'm going to grab my super nifty crafting needle and start beading. Keep in mind that where your first and your last bead is on the string will determine where your knot is going to be. Now that we're done stringing all the beads, the very important step before you tie off the string would be to slide your lobster clasp onto the string. So this is a very important step not to miss, because once the wristlet is tied, there is no way to insert the lobster clasp without cutting the string and restarting all over again. So remember not to forget this part. So once we're done, we're moving on to the next vital step. First thing to consider is the type of knot you're using. Secondly, how tight the knot is will make a world of a difference. So with that in mind, I am going to bring in my knot grippers. Trust me, these will give you the leverage that you need to make your knot extra tight. And that will be the difference between a wristlet that will last you for a long time versus a wristlet that will fall apart after a few uses. So I will show you guys how to use them in the next step. Now you're going to tie an overhand knot, but not pull it taut, so just let it hang loose. And then taking one end of the cord, you're going to do a double knot. Once that's done, you're going to take the other end and repeat the same steps. At this point, I have decided that I am going in to do a third knot for both ends. The idea is the knot acts as a stopper when you slide the cord into the knot gripper slits. So taking the knot gripper, you're going to slide the string in, and you can see how the knot is stopping the string from sliding through. Now I've wrapped the cord twice around the knot gripper because I've got extra length of string. But if you don't, then this step is not necessary. Essentially, you're just going to grab both ends of the knot grippers and pull to the best of your ability. Now I've got extra length on the right hand side, so I'm just going to wrap it around the knot gripper and the left hand side as well, as you can see. So once I've got enough leverage, I'm just going to pull as hard as I can in all directions, and then just folding in any extra length of string so that we get that leverage that we need. I would pull in all directions about 5 times until I can feel the beads are firm and securely set in place. Then I'm going to unroll my string from the grippers. And now we're going to do a second knot. So the second knot is a surgeon's knot, where you basically take one string and go over the other string, and you do it twice. So 1 and 2. Then I'm going to grab my knot grippers and repeat the same steps with pulling it really tight. Rolling it in for any excess string and then just pulling it with all your might. Again, I do this about 5 times in all directions to make sure that it's really tight. Now, a good indication of whether or not your beads are tight against one another would be to see how squished the round beads are. Also give your wristlet a little jiggle and you can feel how firm it is, and that's when you know you've done a great job. So once you're done, you're going to grab your pair of scissors and snip off the knots at the very end. And then next, you're going to pull the strings through the beads. And this step will help to hide your knot better, giving you an overall clean look. It is essential to use your crafting needle at this point because it would be virtually impossible to do this next step by hand, just because of how tight the beads are together. And you'll see exactly what I mean. So taking one end of the string and putting it through the crafting needle, you're going to poke it through the bead and come out through the other end. And now you're just going to pull that string through the bead as well. And then you're going to want to do the same thing for the other string, which is going to go through the other bead next to it. So what you're essentially doing is you're splitting the strings and you're securing them under adjacent beads next to your main knot. And once you're done, you're going to grab both ends of the string and give it a last final pull. And then grabbing your pair of scissors, just snip off the ends of the string as close to the bead as possible. And once you're done, that's it. You've got yourself a gorgeous new wristlet. And because we've used our knot grippers in this tutorial, you can be assured that your wristlet is not going to fall apart after a few uses. It honestly makes a world of a difference. So now that we're done, I'm going to grab my beading board tray to measure up my wristlet. If you remember at the start of this video, I said to size up when you're using the beading board tray. So to get a 6-inch wristlet, we had to use the 6.5-inch crevice, which we did. And you can see now that it doesn't fit the 6.5-inch anymore because we've pulled the beads tight and we've lost some length. But it fits the 6-inch perfectly well. So although you've used the 6.5-inch crevice on your beading board tray, the end result is that you'll get a 6-inch wristlet. So remember to always size up when using our beading board tray. Now let's move on to our hot tips. Hot tip number 1, use a set of knot grippers. We sell these in our shop and they are all handmade from scratch in-house from Tasmanian oak wood, which is really durable and strong. I cannot stress how important knot grippers are in ensuring that your knots are very tight and ensuring that your wristlet doesn't come apart after a few uses. So here's the difference between using knot grippers versus not using them. So for this wristlet, as you can see, I've used the knot grippers, but for this one here, I've simply used my hand strength to pull the knots together. And you can visually see how floppy it actually is. And the beads are not squished together, so they're not well strung, and they just have an overall flimsy feel. So again, if you're going to make silicone beaded wristlets on a regular basis, do invest in a set of knot grippers. I've also popped a link down in the description box below. Buy it, you won't regret it. Hot tip number 2, your silicone beaded wristlet can now hold your keys, which is fantastic. But if you want to spice it up a little bit and allow it to hold more stuff, consider adding a ID wallet to it. We sell these ID card wallets, obviously without the personalization, but it comes with an open ring that you can simply push and attach to the Lobster Clasp on your wristlet. So now you have a wristlet that can hold your keys, your cards, and your money. And this can also be a great selling point. My last hot tip would be to carefully consider the type of string that you use for your wristlet. The thicker the string, the more strength it takes to get a really tight and firm knot. And a string that's too thin will be very prone to breakage. After some testing, I found our 1.5mm satin nylon cord to be the best for making silicone beaded wristlets. They are strong, less prone to breakage, and very durable. I would highly recommend not using elastic string. You guys have seen how much we need to pull and tug at the string for it to be firm and to create that very tight knot. And an elastic string will not withstand that amount of tension without breaking or snapping into two easily. Additionally, elastic string loses their elasticity over time and you end up with a very loose wristlet in no time, with the beads just loosely sliding up and down, which isn't a good look. We've come to the end of our silicone beaded wristlet tutorial today. I really hope you guys found it useful, and please don't forget to tag us on social media if you end up making a silicone beaded wristlet as a result of our tutorial. We would love to see your creations. Also, if you have any feedback or comments or suggestions, please drop them down below in the comment section. And also let us know what tutorials you'd like to see next. Happy crafting, guys!